September 2009, Stockholm, Sweden. A stolen helicopter slices through the early morning sky. Inside, armed men carrying out a plan no one in history had ever attempted before. Landing on the roof of one of the most secure cash depots in Europe, rappelling down by rope, breaking into the vaults, and disappearing with millions before a single police car could get close. But the most unbelievable part wasn't the helicopter. It was what they did the night before. They planted a fake bomb inside the police helicopter hangar, preventing any police aircraft from taking off. The sky belonged to them. The Swedish police, one of the most capable forces in the world, were completely stuck. But did they really get away? Was the money ever recovered? Or is it still hidden somewhere to this day? To understand what happened that morning, you have to understand the target. The G4S depot in Västberga wasn't a normal bank. It was one of the largest cash processing centers in all of Scandinavia. Think of it this way. Instead of storing money for just one person, places like this hold the cash of hundreds of companies, banks, and businesses at the same time. It was basically a giant vault in the middle of Stockholm. Cameras everywhere, armed guards, reinforced concrete walls, steel doors built to withstand almost anything. For an ordinary thief, it was an impossible target. But the group planning this robbery wasn't ordinary. They studied the facility for months. They watched the guards' shifts, mapped out the delivery schedules, identified the blind spots in the camera coverage, and eventually, they reached a conclusion that changed everything. The only way in was from above. Not through a door, not through a tunnel, through the roof. And for that, they needed a helicopter. So they went out and stole one. But there was a huge problem. The Swedish police had helicopters too. And if those were deployed during the robbery, the crew would be tracked from the air and the escape would be impossible. So the group came up with a way to solve that problem before the robbery even started. The night before the heist, one of the crew members infiltrated the police hangar. He walked inside and left a suspicious package next to one of the aircraft. A fake bomb, but realistic enough that no one was willing to take the risk of ignoring it. The police immediately shut down the entire hangar. Bomb specialists were called in. And for hours, no police helicopter could take off. With police aircraft grounded since the night before, and the skies above Stockholm completely clear, the crew was ready. It was time to move. "5 a.m. Västberga was still dark. Employees at the depot were arriving for another normal shift. Coffee, routine, silence. Then the silence broke. The sound of a helicopter cut through the air. Faint at first, almost unnoticeable, but growing every second. Closer, louder. Employees looked up, confused about what was happening. And then it appeared out of nowhere, landing directly on the roof of the G4S depot. Within seconds, masked men rappelled down from the helicopter, armed, organized, every move rehearsed. Not a moment of hesitation. They went straight to the skylights on the roof. Those glass windows installed high on buildings to let natural light inside. They smashed them open with sledgehammers, blow after blow, glass crashing into the building below. Then they lowered themselves by rope into the depot. The employees were immediately held at gunpoint. No resistance, no time to react. No one expected this. No one was prepared for an attack from the roof. Within minutes, the vaults were open. Bags of cash tossed upward, passed hand to hand. A human chain moving everything back up to the helicopter on the roof. Fast, quiet, precise. Outside, the first police cars tried to reach the site, but they couldn't. Because scattered across the ground around the depot were hundreds of caltrops. Imagine a small metal object with sharp spikes pointing in every direction. No matter how it lands, one spike always faces up. Any tire that rolls over it is instantly punctured. Every police vehicle trying to get close ended up stopped in the middle of the road with destroyed tires. Police were stuck outside, unable to reach the building. The helicopters were still grounded in the hangar from the night before, and the crew inside was loading everything they could carry. The entire operation lasted less than 15 minutes. By the time police finally got close enough, the helicopter had already disappeared into the Stockholm sky, with more than $5 million on board. The robbery left Sweden in shock. Newspapers ran the same headline, "The crime of the century." The police were embarrassed. They had been immobilized by a fake bomb, blocked by metal spikes on the ground, and completely outmaneuvered by a group of criminals with a stolen helicopter. The investigation that followed became one of the largest in the country's history. Hundreds of officers mobilized, security footage reviewed hour by hour, witnesses interviewed, borders monitored. But the robbers had simply vanished. Weeks without a lead, months, until slowly the net began to tighten. Through phone wiretaps, surveillance of suspects, and informants inside the group, police began identifying the people involved one by one. In the end, more than a dozen individuals were arrested and convicted. Pilots, planners, the men who rappelled down from the helicopter. Some of the money was recovered, but most of it never resurfaced, not to this day. The helicopter was eventually found abandoned in a forest outside Stockholm. No trace, no fingerprints, nothing pointing to where the millions had gone. No one truly knows where that money is, and maybe no one ever will. The Västberga depot robbery went down in history as one of the boldest heists ever carried out in Europe. Not because of violence, but because of precision, because of intelligence, because of a level of planning that left one of the most efficient police forces in the world with no answers. Sometimes the most impressive crime isn't the most violent one. It's the one that's thought through the best. If you made it this far, thanks a lot for watching. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories about crime, business, and hackers every week.